until, thank you, Robert, until, it's time to speak. Thank you all. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about our education award. After successfully completing a term of service, AmeriCorps VISTA members are eligible to receive a Siegel Education Award. This education award can be used to pay education costs at colleges and universities, to pay for educational training, and to repay qualified student loans. The amount of the education award is tied to the Department of Education's Pell Grant and will vary based on the year and program in which you serve. But once you earn your award, its value does not change. Anyone have any questions about that? Next slide, please. Now, benefits. Selecting the Education Award allows you to access some other important benefits like the National Service Forbearance and interest accrual payments. The National Service Forbearance allows you to forbear, hence forbearance, your federal student loans during your service, and up to 100% of the interest that accrued on those loans paid after service. So as you can see, the figures are here, but remember, these figures change from year to year, or not year to year, sorry, from your service year. So when you start and when you end. But right now, this is the current amount of the education award, $7,395. If you chose to, this would be the interest, sorry, of the accrual if you chose the education award. Next slide, please. And if you all have any questions, just, raise your hand and we'll definitely get to it. So next we'll talk about some limitations. The education award does have some limitations that you should be aware of. Of course, we all know that all things have some type of limitation. The limitation begins after the completion of your service. So you have to be completed your service in order to take this benefit. It expires 7 years from the date it was earned. So keep that in mind for those of you that are planning on using your education award for school. You do not have to use it all at once. You could divide it up, and you can use portions of it at different times during those 7 years. As long as it's within those 7 years of earn date, then you can use it anytime you want, and it can be in pieces. If you extend your service, you're only eligible for the end of service stipend during the extension period and cannot receive forbearance or interest payments for the extension period. And extension period is not the same thing as a re-enroll. An extension would mean that, for instance, your service year is over in August. If you extended your service, say 4 months, 3 months, 6 months, that's what we're speaking of here. That's an extension. That's not the same thing as a re-enroll. A re-enroll would be that you're re-enrolling for the whole year. Okay. You cannot give your education award to someone else. Again, I repeat, you cannot, because you used to be able to, but now you cannot. This means you cannot transfer the award to a child or grandchild if you're 55 years of age or older. If you decide to serve multiple terms, there is a limit on the amount of education awards that an individual is allowed to receive. By law, the individual is not allowed to receive more than the value of 2 full-time education awards. After the 2, if you serve again, you can only get the stipend. And then finally, the education award is counted as taxable income. So you may incur a tax liability, but we'll come back to this in a little bit later. Next slide, please. Now, forbearance versus deferment. During VISTA service, you can put your loans in deferment or forbearance. But of these are types of pauses on your student loan payments during the duration of your service. However, they are different in important ways. I saw we had a couple of questions. I'm going to finish this up, and then we can talk about some of the questions. Okay, so deferment. You do not have to pay interest on your loan during service. To put your loans in deferment, you will have to contact your loan servicer directly. Forbearance. You can postpone paying the principal, but the interest will still accumulate to put your loans in forbearance. You can request this through your MyAmeriCorps portal. Only members who request the education award are eligible for forbearance. However, all VISTAs can apply for deferment. We'll discuss potential factors and make a decision further on. So I saw, let's see. I see, I guess this is is this you, Deidre, from Duchess? Who asked this question? Not sure, but it says you can or can't give your Siegel to a child. You cannot. You could used to, yes. You cannot anymore. That's why I said what I said earlier, that you used to could do that, but now you cannot, as of right now. Okay, next slide, please. All right. Now, what else can you use an education award for? There are two types of payments you can make using your education award. One is the qualifying student loan payment, and two are eligible educational expenses. You do not have to choose between one or the other. You could use your award for both. You could make some student loan payments right after your service and pay for future education with your balance that's left. This was a big thing, questions for people. If they had other awards, if they had like Pell Grants or, maybe scholarships from other places, all those would go into one bulk. And they would pay it directly to the qualifying school that you wanted it to send to. And then just as anything else, whatever money you had left over, then you would be entitled to that. Okay, any questions about that? Next slide, please. Okay. Which type of loans can I pay with the education award? Now, you can put, please feel free to unmute yourself or put your answers in the chat. Now, here's the question. Which type of loans can I pay with the education awards? What do you all think? Which one of these? Okay, let's see what people have. Looks like the consensus is federal. Okay, and you all are correct. When we talk about qualified student loans, we mean federal student loans. These are loans that are backed by or given by the U.S. government. They own the loans, although you may be serviced through other companies like Nelnet, ACS, or Federal Loan Servicing. Okay, any questions about that?
We have one question, Deidre,
Okay.
from Emily. She said, how is the award distributed?
If you're going to enter this during the presentation, please know how is the award distributed. Okay, so what would happen, Emily, is that you would, once you finish with your service in your myamericorps.com portal, you will see, for now it'll be grayed out, but once it's available, you would click on it. It will ask you the school information that you want to send it to, and it will be sent directly to the school. When it's sent to the school applies that to your balance. So let's just say your balance is only $2,000 after all the other benefits or whatever you have, and your loan, your education award was, let's just say, $7,000. So that means you have a surplus of $5,000 would then be yours to do what you wanted to do with it. It would be presented to you in a refund amount, if that makes sense.
Yes, if I was needing to give it to Nelnet, it's the same process.
If you say that again, I'm sorry.
If it needs to go directly to like Nelnet for like federal stuff.
You're talking about for your current student loans, right? Yes. So you would, yes, it would ask you that when you click on your education award, it asks you where you want it to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did that answer your question? Yeah, you would just have make sure you have, their address, contact information, all that. I see we have another question in the chat. Let's see. Yes, you can. Yeah, her question was, can you use the education award for a previous federal school loan in the past? Yes, you can. When you say, and we're talking student loan, when you say federal school loan, I'm assuming you're meaning a previous federal student loan. If that's the case, yes. And it would be the same processes I just was explaining to Emily as well as the group, that once it became available in your portal, you would click on it and it would ask you where you wanted to go from there. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Next slide, please. Now, using the Education Award to pay for qualifying student loans. The Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award can only be used to repay the qualified student loans. All right. So federal student loans are qualified student loans, loans backed by the federal government under Title IV of the Higher Education Act. Example includes the Stafford loan, Perkins loans, the federal direct loans, federal consolidated loans, supplement loans to students and guaranteed student loans, loans under Title VII or VIII of the Public Service Health Act. Examples include HEAL, HPSL, the nursing students, primary care loans, and things of this for disadvantaged students, loans made by a state agency, including state institutions of higher education. Now, the big thing, private student loans and Parent Plus loans are not qualified student loans. So that the parent loan is a big one, that those cannot be paid off with your education award. Okay. All righty. Let's see. All right. Any questions there? All right. Next slide, please. Okay. Now it says, which are eligible education expenses? You can just put your answers in the chat really quick. You don't have to type the whole thing out. You can just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can just unmute yourself and speak it. Okay. I see some say for credit. Okay. All right. Now, surprisingly, these are all eligible for education eligible expenses. Okay. So, but with one very important condition, you must pay for them through a Title IV institution. So this is where it came from when I was explaining to you how the process works. If you have to do these things through your institution, and then it will be on your account. So then the money that's applied to your account will pay for these things. Anything that can be applied to your school account in education wise is eligible to be paid with your education award. Okay. Does that make sense for anyone? Let's see. Yep. Everybody. Yep. All of those and everything on the list can be used. All right. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about using the education award to pay for educational expenses. Educational expenses of those incurred from the Title IV institutions, that they are institutions that can receive federal student aid. There are over 30,000 Title IV institutions, including universities, community colleges, and many more educational institutions. A great way to find out if a school is eligible is to check out the FAFSA list. There are many trade schools that are included in the list. If a four-year university experience isn't the right fit for you, a lot of people didn't know that, but even some of the beauty schools and things of that nature, some of those are Title IV. So that means that you could use your education award to even go to some trade schools, welding, different things like that. So look into it if that's something that you're interested in. It does not have to be just a junior or senior college. Okay. The traditional. Also on the list are non-traditional schools such as tattoo schools, cosmetology programs, and outdoor educational programs that accept federal financial aid. You can take non-credit enrichment classes like guitar, swimming, photography, or anything else that's offered through an eligible community college or public university, as long as it's a Title IV school. If you decide to use your education award to pay for future tuition, you also want to consider that there are a lot of schools and programs that will match your education award. Those come in the form of matching funds, scholarship, expanded benefits, or both. And that's a great way to also look into see which college you want to use. If they would actually match your education award, that would be a big plus for you all to not have to incur any fees in doing so. Okay. Any questions? Um, all right, and also the payment. Those of you that took the education award, the award is paid in 2 installments. First payment beginning of enrollment, second payment midpoint date, and and the reason they do that is a couple, but the main reason is you get half of it at the beginning to help you, get on your way with schooling and things like that. And some schools require that there's some type of payment form there already, so you'll have that. But then the second payment is just like any other um, scholarship, Pell Grant, any of those things. They need to make sure that you're still enrolled in school at least to the halfway point. So that's why you get your second payment from there. Okay. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about tuition matching. One thing to note is often these matching funds or scholarships or specific programs or departments within a larger university. So please look carefully. Carnegie Mellon University's Hines College of Information Sciences and Public Policies offer a minimum scholarship of $10,000 per semester for VISTA alums, while Emory University offers a $5,000 match on your award specifically for their School of Public Health. And at Illinois State University, they will match your education award and give you a 2-year tuition waiver and an 11-month paid internship. Other matching institutions include Texas A&M, the University of Arizona, the University of Colorado, Duke University, and many more. A full list is available on the AmeriCorps Vista Campus website. And I encourage each and every one of you to take a look, because that Illinois State University, that the incentives that they have are absolutely top tier. So I would definitely look into, these colleges that are at least at minimum match your education award. That would save you so much money in the long run, and you won't be incurring, hopefully, any more bills on top of in the form of student loans and things like that. So please look out, and if you need the list of the colleges and what they offer, they are on the AmeriCorps Vista Campus website. Vista Campus, not myamericorps.gov. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, here are the steps to accessing your education award. Once your service is complete, to use your education award and any other AmeriCorps benefits, you'll first need to access your myamericorps.gov account. You log in and select Create an Education Award Payment Request in the left side navigation bar. You might can see it now, but it's not like, just say if you went in to take a look around, you might would see it, but of course you couldn't do anything with it until your end of service. And then it won't be grayed out anymore. It'll be a link for you to click on. If your loan holder doesn't appear, you can type in their information. If your school doesn't appear, you can request a paper voucher and submit it to your financial aid office. But most of the schools are there. But if they're not, then you can always get a paper voucher to take to the school. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, how would the education award impact my taxes? This is this disclaimer from me personally. I am not a tax expert. Just some things to think about. Taxes specific to the education award. A disclaimer again for those in the back. I am not a tax expert, okay? So I'm just giving you my best scenario here and also what's in your handbook, okay? The education award counts as a taxable income in the tax year in which you use your award. Okay, did you Y'all caught that one? It's income in the tax year you use your award, not the year that you accrue your award. So if you get it this year, you don't use it to 2026, then 2027, when you file your taxes, that's when it's claimed. Okay. Now, you will receive a 1099 miscellaneous income form from the IRS for any amount over $600 that you use from your education award in that tax year. Okay. You can access tax forms in your myAmericorps.gov account. Consider not using it all at once. This completely depends on your overall financial situation and taxes, but it is important to note that it will be considered income on your taxes in the year in which you use it. Okay. Any questions on that? Next slide, please. So let's talk about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, the PSLF program. The Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program exists to help people working for the government or certain nonprofit organizations pay off their student loans. After submitting proof of making 120 qualifying payments on your student loans while working full-time for a qualifying employer, then the rest of your loan balance will be forgiven. Why do we mention this? Because your AmeriCorps service is qualified employment under this program. If you are receiving the education award, you can put your loans in forbearance during the service and make a lump sum payment once you receive the award. Note that you can only do this for one service year or 12 qualifying payments. If you opted for the stipend or in your 2+ years of service, you can opt into an income-driven repayment plan. Payments could be as low as $0 under some plans. We will send you a list of resources after this training so that you can look through this to see what the best option is for you. I highly recommend looking into this, the loan forgiveness program under these, if you're working in certain industries, in certain places. I know several people that have done this, and they cleared out all their student loans. So depending on your circumstance and your situation, if this is something good for you, I think it would be a great option to take, to look into. Okay. Any questions on that? Next slide, please. So the Perkins loan forgiveness. If you selected the stipend, you are still eligible for some loan forgiveness. When you elect the stipend, 15% of your total Perkins loan obligation plus all the accrued interest will be canceled for the first and second years of completed AmeriCorps service. For the third completed year of service, 20% of your total Perkins loans obligation plus the accrued annual interest will be canceled. Members who select the education award are not eligible for this loan forgiveness. Okay. All right, next slide, please. Other things to think about. Now, let's talk about the non-competitive eligibility. And we'll move on to discuss this non-competitive eligibility, which we call niche. Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is a special hiring status that allows you to go through the standard public competitive process, meaning you can apply to jobs that are not available to the general public. Now, I want you to understand something. Next slide, please. Niche is only good for 1 year, and only when it comes to federal positions. It should also be noted that niche does not mean that a VISTA member is guaranteed and or entitled to a federal position. It simply means that niche permits a federal agency to hire a VISTA alum who meets the qualifications for a position without going through a formal review process. This does not mean there won't be an interview or many steps within the hiring process, but it does take some of the steps that members of the general public have to go through out of the process. There is no one entity that manages the niche status, so it is your responsibility to know the ins and outs of this benefit. So with the niche, it is most people in the government, federal govs, do not know about this status that you get for 1 year after your service. So you would have to be an advocate for yourself. You're going to have to present the form and say, hey, I am a VISTA alum. Here's this thing that they tell me that I qualify for. What exactly, and here are the benefits that I get for using this. Which, again, it does not guarantee you a job, but you don't have to go through all the normal rigorousness of federal employees. And me being a retired federal employee, I can tell you that the application process is extensive and a long thing. So any help that you can get is definitely to your advantage. So, okay, we have a question. Let's see what this says here. It says, will this slide show? Yes, it will. It's being recorded and we'll also have it in the OneDrive. Okay. All right. So next slide, please. The length of your niche. So as stated, niche lasts for 1 year. This date starts on the day after your end of service and goes for 365 days after. It can be extended for up to 2 years, however, for 3 reasons only. Those are if you enter the military, you begin school in a recognized institution of learning, or an activity that the hiring agency thinks warrants an extension. An example of another activity could be interning at another nonprofit, volunteering, or actual employment at an organization that provided you with the skills and experience that make you an even stronger job candidate. To be clear, while you can extend your niche, it does not mean that you have niche that whole time. It means that when you are done with the reason you pushed it back, the military school, etc., your niche is valid for the time you have left. So let's just say you started in and you had a year. So let me ask you this. So if you serve 2 years as a VISTA, does that mean you get 2 years of niche? What's your answer in the chat? Let's see what somebody said here. Okay, Sydney said no. I need some more answers here. What do y'all think? Do you get more time? Do you get 2 years? What? Every year of service? Just I need to make sure y'all still awake and paying attention. Okay, Emily. All right, Emily and Sydney. Okay. Okay, Allie. All right. So the answer is no. Even if you serve for up to 5 years as a VISTA, you still only get 1 year of niche. If you serve several part-time VISTA terms that add up to a full year, can you get niche? The answer is also no. You need to serve a full term, full year of service to get this benefit. Okay. All right, Gabrielle. So I'm just gonna warn y'all, and we're headed towards the end soon, that those of you that are very quiet, I'm gonna start calling you by name. So if I was you, I'd start participating in this chat questions, unless you just want me to call you out by name. I'm just saying. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. So as stated, niche lasts for 1 year. This date starts on the date after your end of service and goes for 365 days after. It can be extended for up to 2 years, however, for the 3 reasons we talked about. Okay. So now, using your niche, meet and network with people that work in the federal government. Look for hiring fairs, or there are many places you can search for open positions that accept applicants with niche on these platforms. You need to make sure that you're marketing yourself. It is up to you to advocate for yourself and make sure the hiring manager knows that you have niche. Let people know you have niche. Your alumni website through HFA is a great place to kind of network and talk to people and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. They already know you finished AmeriCorps and I have this niche that I need to use within a year. Any leads, LinkedIn, all those type of things if you're looking for, a place to use your niche. And also make sure that you have all the information to supply to them. All right, next slide, please. Verification of service letter. This document is very important and proves your niche status. Here's how to access it. So in your AmeriCorps.gov account, click My Verification Letter, select your dates, select VISTA Verification Letter, print and save. Keep this number. Most of you should have it already with the email, but this is your VISTA member support unit. And here's their number and email. Any questions that you have regarding things on your MyAmeriCorps.gov account, they would be the ones to ask. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, where can I use my niche? It's never too soon to start looking. Federal hiring can be a lengthy process for sure. Let the hiring manager know the day your niche will start, but keep in mind, if you end your service early, you will not receive this niche. Okay, so when you start looking for a federal job and filling out those applications, and let them know, that you have this niche in your day that it starts and the day that it ends. Okay, next slide, please. We have a question. Let's see. Emily said, if the federal government ends our service early, do we get it? Emily, that's a question that I can't answer. But in the rules here, it does state that if you end your service early, you will not get it. It does not state if they end it early. So we don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry. It does say in the rules that you have to do a whole year of service. So I would lean towards the no, but we don't know the answer to that yet. Okay, so I'll leave that to one of the many thousands of unanswered questions that we have at this point, and we'll get back to it. All right. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. USA Jobs. You would want to build a profile on USA Jobs, as it has the vast majority of federal jobs listings. Here's a screenshot of that. You can use the resume builder on USA to help build a federal resume as well. It also has a way to filter jobs accepting your niche. You can click on the box that is highlighted. So if you look down here where it says Peace Corps VISTA alum, see that? You can click on that, and that way you can filter any positions that would accept your niche right away. So you'll know which ones do and don't. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. So let's talk about writing about service on your resume. Now, you want to frame depending on what you're looking into next. Focus on capacity building language, qualitative and quantitative data. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to talk about building your bullet points. Now, quantity and quality are two different things. So first, we're going to talk about quantify your experience. The money you raise on a budget managed, the number of events managed, the number of partnerships developed, quantity, numbers. Most federal agencies, they love numbers. So when you put these numbers, make sure, of course, they're accurate, but this is building your bullet points. So you're going to put in the number of volunteers, all those lovely monthly activity logs that you all do. Hey, here's all your numbers right there. Put those on your resume. See there, the monthly activity logs, you do need them for something one day in your lifetime. So here's the numbers, put those on there. Then next, we're going to demonstrate your qualities and skills. You're going to talk about leadership, technology, project management, languages, problem solving, collaboration, adaptability, critical thinking, all these great skills that you have as a VISTA. This is the place to put them in your bullet points. You also want to include your accomplishments. You provided community education classes, coordinated, created, established new partnerships. You led teams, projects, initiatives, organized, revamped, implemented trainings, wrote, designed, edited publications, remodeled affordable housing, helped with hunger, helped with all these different things. Here's the place that you make yourself shine in all your accomplishments. And you have to really kind of hone in sometimes, because a lot of things we don't think that we've done, but you've done it. So just this is the place to put those things. Okay. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about your bullet point examples. Now, quantify whenever it's possible, meaning quantity is the numbers that you're going to put in. So original, tutored low-income students, tutored, if I can speak, tutored more than 30 low-income students. Quantify. Those numbers are always good. So you're going to put that in. And then an even better way to say that same thing is tutored more than 30 students, leading to 60% of participating students showing academic improvement. So when you're doing these bullet points, this is a time that you make yourself shine. You want to stand out more than anyone else in whatever job you're trying to get. So you want to use active voice and strong verbs to describe your skills and experience. So here's another example. So it says the original is responsible for helping recruit volunteers and train them. A better way to say that is recruited and trained volunteers. And an even better way is to say recruited and trained volunteers to provide job development service for homeless veterans. So the third way definitely sounds better than the original, and it was all the same thing that you did. Okay. Questions? All right, next slide, please. So we're going to translate your service experience. These are just some synonyms of active verbs to use so that your resume does not sound too repetitive. So again, you want to stand out. So you want to use some of these things like you transform something. So you can say streamline or reconstructive. Utilize verbal and written skills. Some of these synonyms are some nice words that you can use instead of saying that: persuaded or briefed or convinced. And then assessed and addressed community needs, administered, designed, founded. All those sound kind of, upper echelon is my favorite word I like to say. Better than just assessed. When you see administered, that sounds important, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like you assessed something. You administered something or you formulated something. Those things really sound they sound better, and they sound they're exactly the same words. They just sound a little more profound, in my opinion. And then a leader or a manager, you align, you executed, operated, produced, chaired, all those things work. So try to think of some of these synonyms that are not going to be just average. You want to be above average. So try to make your resume stand out. And just a brief tip on filling out a federal resume. If any of you have done it, you know that it's very tedious and very long, but a word of advice is to make sure that you answer every question. Make sure that you are putting in the experience that is needed for the job, because if you don't, your resume will never even be looked at, because the resumes are skimmed for keywords. And if your resume does not get the basic keywords in it, meaning the skills that are needed for that position, your resume will not get to the agency that you need it to get to. Okay, so word of advice for me. Okay, all right. Next slide, please. Now, example of translating your VAD description to a resume. So this is an example of how to communicate your VAD on your resume. Now, this is how your position looks. As you can see, you identify trends in community gardens. create partnerships, all those things. Now, to use these things as bullet terms, and we've condensed it here, and you could say I informed agency's strategic plan and provided recommendations to leadership. I established a social media presence on Facebook and Twitter for the community coalition for healthy food. And then I planned, tracked, and supervised the activities of more than 100 volunteers for community garden days. This is an example of, your position in your VAD and how this actually should be streamlined. Because I can give you another word of advice. An application, not just a federal application, but if I'm an employee looking for people to hire, I am looking for key things first. I don't want to read a resume that's 3 pages long. I want to be able to streamline if this person is a good candidate for me to move to the next step. Remember, they're going to have hundreds and thousands of federal resumes and applications. So you want to stand out. So you want to make sure that their eyes can focus on some of the things that you're saying. And then once you catch the focus, then you can present other things. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. So top tips for federal resume building. Okay. Now, use the USA Jobs Resume Builder tool. It will help you with formatting. A link will be shared on the resource page at the end of the presentation. It must include current contact information, all these things that you all know already, your phone number, your email address, any way that they need to get in contact with you, relevant work experience, including hours worked per week and salary made. Here's a list of different things you can use. You also need to use reverse chronological order to list your experience. Start with your most recent experience first and work your way back. And then be concise and keep paragraphs short to make your resume easier to read, and add a blank line between sections. You use bullet points to describe your experiences and accomplishments. And then you make sure that, as I stated before, that you have all these keywords. So you're going to read the description for the job, and you're going to make sure that the qualifications that they're asking for at minimum you have on your application or resume. Okay. And then another tip for me is that when you're filling out these things, if I've seen this before where people say, okay, fill out an application, and all they do is send their resume. That's not going to get you an interview. That's not going to get you in the door. If I need an application and a resume, fine. But if I ask you for an application, please just don't send me a resume, because you'll never get it looked at. The federal system uses an application tracking system, but I think it's a little bit different than maybe what you're speaking on, Deidre, unless you're familiar with the government federal aspect of it. When you say federal tracking system, what I'm speaking on is that the resumes and applications are moved on if they meet the minimum requirements for the job. So again, those keywords are very important when they're asking for your qualifications versus what you put on your application and resume. That's the only tracking system that they have on the federal side. Okay. Now, so here it tells you resumes used for federal government jobs differ from those used in the private sector in both content and purpose. Federal resume, usually multiple pages, include a detailed description of your experience that aligns with the requirements listed in a federal job announcement. That's a big one. Requirements listed in the job announcement. Whereas the private sector, as I was explaining to you all, that generally limited to 1 page and provides a brief synopsis of your work history. So those are the two major differences between a federal resume and a private sector resume. Okay. Thank you, Deidre. All right. Now, so your top tips for your federal resume building, as you can see on the screen, we talked about this, about using your bullets to describe. We want to use those words that kind of grab the attention. We want to make sure that your experience is in reverse chronological order and that you have multiple pages on this federal resume and then a single page on a private sector resume. Be descriptive as possible. Use quantity. Use those numbers to get their to get the attention of the person. Also, be honest because you may get asked about these things. They call your references, all these type of things. So you want to make sure that you're honest in what you put, but also be very thorough on a federal resume. Okay. Okay. Yep. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Any more questions on? Well, don't want to go anywhere. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So end of service reminders here. So we have the relocation stipend. If you received a relocation stipend at the beginning of your service and are planning on moving back, you can receive another stipend at the end of your service. You should have received an email about this from AmeriCorps if you had received the beginning of service relocation stipend. Anybody that received that, it's going to be the same process as when you started it and got it the first time. Health insurance coverage, whether you opted for the VISTA healthcare allowance or the healthcare plan, these benefits will end on the last day of your VISTA service. So make sure you're covered. Look into other plans ahead of time to avoid a lapse in coverage. And you also get that little form that says that you had service between this time, and they'll offer you, a plan for an astronomical fee if you want to take advantage of that. Complete your future plans form. Now, you will be receiving a form from AmeriCorps about completing your future plans form at least a month prior to the end of your service. The form takes less than 5 minutes, so please do so as you know when your plans are. Now, that form, you will get, like they said, an email from AmeriCorps. It'll be on the left-hand side where everything else is, and it's grayed out now, but once it's available, it'll be there. It's going to be 2 forms. As soon as you sign into your myamericorps.gov account, you're going to see them right at the top as a link. One's going to say a future plans form. One's going to say your survey. Those things have to be completed at your end of your service in order for us to complete you out of the system, meaning that to get whatever benefits you opted for the end of service. Okay. And then also you will get a future plans form, which you have. Some of you have already filled it out, but you got it already from AmeriCorps, HFA, to see where you were going, where you plan on staying or you planning on finding something else. Okay. Alrighty. Next slide, please. Now, so this is discussion time here. And before we go into this, I'm going to let Robert, he has some information for you all as well. Go ahead, Robert.
All right. Thanks, teacher. I just wanted to give you guys some info. I'm going to put our follow-up event is going to happen, I think, in about 2 weeks from now with our VISTA Deidre Sept leading a resume and network building kind of event where it's going to be more in-depth and maybe more specific to your situation. Like if you want to have your resume there. And she has some questions that I'm going to put in the chat for now, but I'm also going to send it in a Google form kind of thing to get your responses. So if you guys get this, maybe copy paste it to a Word document, you can email it to me, but you're going to get it in a few ways before the event. But so that's in the chat. And then that's going to be, I think, May 28th, which is another Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So those emails and those links are going to be coming your way, but that's coming up next. And another thing I wanted to touch on is going back to what Deidre said about LinkedIn, and maybe Amy, you'd like to jump in here, but we're building, or Amy has built kind of a HFA LinkedIn group. And we're just trying to get everyone to make a LinkedIn if you haven't already, find HFA so we can connect in that way and stay connected and build that kind of professional network so that we can all continue to help each other along, your professional journeys. But that's it from me. I don't know if Vanessa or anyone had anything to share.
Okay. Amy, do you have anything to share?
I would just say thank you so much, Deidre. I always love hearing you do this presentation, and it's so good. And I realize you are not a tax expert, and you better turn in those darn future plan forms. So loud and clear to me too. The LinkedIn piece is really important so that we can do what I'm calling potluck community development, so that when you're starting to look for a job, you can see who's connected to whom and if any of us can help you out. So please, 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 you have to friend me first or ask to be linked, and then I can let you in because we're keeping it closed for now. But eventually, if the group agrees, we'll add in mentors and alums. So it's a really broad-based group, and it should make for the best of potluck community development, so that it's everybody like, I've got a friend who works at that, or I know somebody who lives in that city if you're moving there, so we can really help each other out.
Thank you, Amy. So we had a question in the chats. Okay, somebody wanted to know, is there the link for the LinkedIn? We do have that, correct, Robert?
I think you have to reach out and connect with me, and then I can add you.
Okay. All right. So Amy, or Vanessa, Robert can put her Amy's email in there, so then you can reach out and y'all can go that way. And then we just have 1 minute or here left. So let me skip to the slide 34, please, Robert. The end of one that says resources. Thank you. Okay, so guys, here's quite a bit of resources here for you to use. Of course, the member handbook is there if you have any questions about the do's and don'ts of AmeriCorps. I hope everybody would utilize this and all these other things. And of course, you can always reach out to your VISTA leader, and we will get any questions answered that you have that we can. We know that we're all in trying times right now. I really appreciate you all showing up and on time, of course. And then also Deidre, your fellow VISTA from United Way of Dutchess, she also will be having her training as Robert was speaking on. So you'll be getting lots of notifications about that in the coming 2 weeks. So please, you all show your fellow VISTA some support, and I'm sure she will have so much useful information for you as a VISTA. And then Robert posted the 2 questions that Deidre, the other Deidre, wanted answered prior to, so she can kind of tailor it to what you will want to learn in her training. So please, guys, let's show up and show Deidre some support in her training. Let's just see if we had any other questions. Anyone else have any questions, concerns, anything that you want to talk about before we end the meeting? Okay, no questions. Well, thank you guys again for showing up. We really, really appreciate you all. If anything comes up later, please reach out to your respective VISTA leader. And of course, as always, we really appreciate you guys. And we see you. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.